Working with a nightmare client is one of the worst possible things that you could do as a contractor. Not only are you going to lose more money, but you're going to lose sleep at night. That's why in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the 11 most common big red flags that any person can give you before you actually sell the project. If you don't know me, my name is Tyler Link, and I've done over $10 million in my own concrete company over the past 5 years, and I've dealt with a lot of nightmare customers. And I also own Contractor CEO, where I help market and consult other contractors all across the United States, and this is one of the very biggest common pain points that we help people solve. All right, so with all that being said, one of the very first things that I look out for is if a lead has a lot of nightmare stories with other contractors. So if they've had one bad experience with contractors before, then it's probably not that big of a deal and it still is a little bit of a red flag. But I've had multiple leads where, say for instance, I get out to a quote and they start telling me bad story after bad story about how all these contractors are just so bad, how they're so terrible to work with, and they act like all the contractors out there are bad. And so what you have to realize is either there's a couple things. Either that person is extremely unlucky and they just have chose like the absolute worst contractors, which is possible, or more than likely, they are the problem. They're overly nitpicky, they cause problems, they're not easy to work with, and they are the real problems that you need to avoid. Number two is if a customer is always telling you how easy their project is. And so what I've noticed is if I'm out doing a quote and someone just says, oh, don't worry about that, that's gonna be super easy, this project is really simple, or they keep using words like that. What I've realized is, number one, they're almost always trying to get a deal on their project and they're out there looking for the lowest possible bidder, because at the end of the day, what they really care about is saving money, and they don't actually respect what me and you do as a profession, right? Like they don't really care how good we are, or they're trying to overly simplify what we're doing. So they'll commonly say things like, oh yeah, I can do that, it's not very hard, it's just gonna save me a little bit of time. But at the end of the day, what it's really showing is a lack of respect for me and you, and therefore, if they're a client, they may not be very fun to work with. Number three, and this is one of my least favorite, is when you're working with a partner, say a husband and wife, and they're not on the same page. So what we've seen in the past is if during the estimate process, the couple is arguing or they're not on the same page or they have differing views, if you sell those projects before everyone is on the same page, it is an absolute nightmare to do the project. Because what will happen is you're gonna be doing work and all of a sudden, say for instance, the husband will tell you one thing and you're gonna be working, and then later the wife will come out and she's gonna say, what the heck are you doing? That's not what I want you to do X, Y, Z. But the thing is, in our line of work, the most expensive thing by far is labor. So if you're going to be redoing anything or spending time while the project is going, trying to problem solve, it's slowing things down and it's costing you a ton of money. So do not sell people who are not on the same page as their partner. Number four is an unrealistic budget. There's nothing worse than working for someone who doesn't have enough money set aside to do the project that they actually want. They're constantly going to be cutting corners, trying to get you to do things the cheaper way. And at the end of the day, it's just not worth it. Number five is overly nitpicky people. And what I've really noticed is if someone is in a trade or a profession, say for instance, like a lawyer, a surgeon, an engineer, or something where they have a very analytical job. Number one is those people typically are very egotistical. They think that they know everything. But then on top of that, they're normally very detail orientated because that's what they've been trained to do in their line of work. For instance, like if you're a lawyer, you have to look at every little single word in a contract, and if one of the words is wrong, then it can screw everything up. So these people have been trained to look for the smallest little details. And it's not like I won't sell these people, because the thing is, if you do sell them and you manage them correctly, they can pay a lot of money. But the thing is, if you sell someone and you're not charging a little extra for their nitpickiness, then essentially what you're doing is, again, you're slowing down your work and you're not making extra money. So therefore, you're not gonna be profitable, right? So if you do sell someone who's really nitpicky, just know what you're getting into. And I always charge at least 10 to 30% more for someone who I view that's gonna be nitpicky over someone who is just gonna be easy to work with. Number six is they might not wanna follow your sales process. And I view this as a huge red flag, because if someone doesn't wanna work with me on how I normally operate in business before I even sell the job, then imagine after you sell the job, you're out there, you're doing your actual work, and then they're even trying to critique how you're doing your work. What I found is the people who are actually willing to follow my sales process and do the things that I request of them before, they view us working together as much more of a partnership, and they're much more cooperative, right? And working with anyone who's cooperating with you during the whole process is going to be way easier than someone who's fighting you and think that they know best, even though they're not the professional. And number 7, this kind of goes hand in hand, is they look at this as a one-sided relationship. They say things like, oh man, I'm giving you your money, or I'm paying you a lot of money, or they're basically like saying, hey, I'm giving you money and now I own you. If they look at this as a one-sided relationship and they're giving you all this stuff and you're not like giving them anything in return, it is typically a very toxic relationship, and I steer clear of these people almost no matter what. If I hear certain things like that and they're already holding things over my head during the estimate process, then typically I will never sell that type of person, because what I've noticed is during the process, they can make things just so much harder. Number 8 is a little bit of a debatable one, but if they're going through a hard time in their personal life, even if they're a nice person, I typically don't want to actually work with them. What I've noticed is if someone is going through a hard time in life, whether that's like a divorce or losing their job or whatever it is, they have this negative energy basically around them. And I've always noticed that for some reason, all of my projects that go wrong are typically for people who are already having a hard time in life. And so what I really think it is just their increased stress or increased anxiety or whatever it really is. It messes with like the mojo of the crew, and more things tend to go wrong. Number 9, I call this person the helper. And this is the type of person where they say, hey, just bid me the project or whatever you're gonna do. But oh, on top of that, like I'm actually very handy and I'm gonna be there helping you. So make sure you account for that in your price. And I think it's kind of funny when people say this, and I get that they have the best intentions, but if anything, if someone is actually trying to help me and my crew, if anything, all it really does is slow us down. Number 1, because they're not qualified. And number 2 is then they're gonna be in our business every single step of the way, questioning everything. And so if someone actually tries to help me in my project, for me, I would actually want to charge them more or just not sell them altogether. 10 is when someone says, hey, I've already bought the materials, so all you have to do is charge me labor. This kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, that they don't really respect you as a professional and they're just really trying to like cut price down. But what they don't really realize is as contractors, what we really charge for is our labor. And so 1, they're just searching for a deal. And then 2, the materials that they buy are probably not even as good. And if they're that involved in the project to try to save money, then you better believe that they're gonna be nitpicking you on every little detail to try to cut money out of their project later. And lastly, number 11, and I've seen this so many times, is they say, oh, give me a really good deal on this project because I'm a realtor and I'm gonna give you all these projects in the future. So just really hook me up right now because this is what I need. But in the future, I'm gonna give you all this work. And for me, that is a huge red flag because again, they're just bargain hunters. All they're trying to do is get you to give them a good deal. And I've actually fallen for this many times because they always make it sound so believable. Oh, I'm an investor. I have so many properties, or I'm this, or I'm that. And just hook me up now and I'll hook you up later. But in reality, if they are actually legit, all they're gonna say is, hey, if this goes well, I got some other projects coming down the line, but they're not gonna be overly pushy about trying to get stuff out of you right now, because if they do want to work with you in a long-term relationship, they're going to know and understand that you have to make money too. Those are the 11 things to look out for before you sell jobs. If you see any of these things, then either charge more money or just straight up do not sell them because it's not worth your time. If you like this video, make sure you like it and subscribe to my channel for more content just like this. Reach out to us here at Contractor CEO if you want help growing your business, and I'll see you in the next video.